The Insta360 One X is one of the few 360 cameras at this price point capable of capturing HDR videos. This video takes you through why you might want to do that, whether you should use a tripod or not, or if you can safely move around whilst using HDR mode, and some tips on when best to use it and when to avoid it too. Hi, my name is Sam Johel and welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me. This channel is all about 360 video and photography with a little coffee and travel thrown into the bargain too. If we just met, welcome and thanks for being here. If this appeals to you, please consider subscribing. I'd love to have you back here too. Let's crack on. The way that HDR video works on the Insta360 One X is that instead of just capturing one video track, the special Sony sensor on this camera enables you to increase the dynamic range by taking 2 exposures for each frame of the video. That's what HDR stands for, high dynamic range, and it increases that by taking those 2 exposures for each frame. So what, you might ask? Well, a better dynamic range means that you have a larger range in which a camera can capture the brightest and the darkest areas of an image without losing the detail in that image. If a camera moves beyond its dynamic range, then that's when you see the bright bits of the image being washed out or the darks becoming really noisy and no detail being captured. That's where you get that kind of pixelated finish in the image that you try, or the video that you try and look at afterwards. With HDR, you have a bigger leeway for these bright spots and dark spots in your video. And the 360 degrees field of view means that actually you can capture a lot of that difference in light and shade in your video without worrying about pixelation or loss of detail. So this all sounds very good. Why wouldn't you use it all the time? Well, the theory is that if you're moving, then you actually have a little gap in time between those 2 images being captured, meaning that there is perhaps also a little bit of distance because you've been traveling or moving whilst you've been capturing the video. So when the camera tries to align these 2 images together, these 2 tracks together, you might see ghosting, which is where one image doesn't quite line up with another because you've moved between the time that those 2 video tracks were captured, and then trying to splice them together again means that you can see actually a difference. So you might see one image kind of floating on top of another one, which is ghosting. You might also see a bit of a jello effect too, where the background seems stable, but the foreground seems to wobble around a lot. More on that later, because I'll show you some footage where this seemed to happen in the video that I captured. So what do Insta360 recommend? Insta360 are pretty clear that HDR video capability is designed for stationary use only, so no moving around if you want to get a good capture. But you know what, in most situations I've been moving around and I've not noticed anything bad about using HDR, only the benefits in being able to capture a wide dynamic range, calming down the highlights so that they don't blow out, whilst also being able to capture the darker parts of the image too without losing detail in the blacks. However, I will make 2 exceptions to that. If your light is pretty low all around, if it's overcast or twilight or early in the morning with murky light, I certainly found that I'm much more likely to get that jello effect, especially if there's a big difference in luminosity between your subject and your background. You can see here in the light of the cones in this art installation, look how much they wobble, especially when you add the rapid movement that I'm doing in this video too. Secondly, where there's a high degree of rapid short movements or vibration. Now I noticed in this recent video that I captured that there is a jello effect capturing video in HDR mode when mounted on a motorcycle mount going at around 50 kilometers an hour. And I imagine that's only going to be accentuated if you're going faster. Now, I didn't test this comparing it against a capture in normal mode, and there might be problems there too, so your mileage might vary. I just thought I would let you know what I noticed about the otherwise excellent feature of being able to capture in HDR mode on the Insta360 One X. And I have to say, it probably is my go-to default option now, unless there's a reason why I wouldn't capture in HDR video mode. But I'm keen to hear your experiences, so be sure to drop me a note in the comments. What have you noticed when filming video in HDR mode on your One X, or what's holding you back? I'm keen to hear both. Hey, thanks for watching. I'd love a like on this video if you found it useful. And again, do consider subscribing. I'd love to see you back here again too. Cheers and go well.